Time now for the press review with Alison Sargent. Good to see you, Alison.
You too, Delano.
You're starting out in Malta, where there's been a major development in the investigation into the murder of a prominent investigative journalist.
That's right. This is Daphne Caruana Galizia, who was killed in a car bombing back in 2017. One of the men accused of planting that bomb has pleaded guilty. The Times of Malta calls it a momentous turning point in the case because up until yesterday, he had been denying the charges. Now, this man, Vincent Muscat, also known as Il Kohu, was sentenced to 15 years in prison after making a plea deal to give information to Maltese authorities. And in another development on Tuesday, 3 other men suspected of providing the bomb were arrested. Now, the Malta Independent, where Daphne Caruana Galizia was a regular contributor, printed the statement read in court that came from her family. They expressed hope that this is the start of complete justice for the slain journalist. Now, complete justice because it's not yet been proven who ordered her killing. Caruana Galizia was investigating high-level corruption in Malta's business and political elite, and a businessman, Jorgen Fenech, is accused of being the mastermind behind her killing. He's currently in custody, although he denies the charges.
Okay, moving on to another shocking story out from The Guardian about the deaths of thousands of migrant workers building that World Cup stadium in Qatar.
That's right. The Guardian found that over 6,500 migrant workers have died in Qatar since the country was awarded the contract for the 2022 World Cup 10 years ago. The paper writes that this shocking figure is likely to be an underestimate because it concerns workers coming from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, but not from the Philippines or Kenya, who also make up part of that workforce. The Guardian didn't have access to figures about those migrants from those countries. The paper connects the deaths to Qatar's unprecedented World Cup building plan, which involves not one but 7 stadiums and dozens of major projects such as an airport and even an entirely new city just to host the final game.
I feel like we've heard about this story many times before. Now we have figures, and other papers have been reacting to this.
Yeah, the French sports magazine SoFoot sent out their article with a tweet saying the 2022 World Cup will be played on a cemetery. Indeed. They note the denial of the Qatari government, which claimed that the mortality rate of the migrant workers is in line with expectations for that demographic. The magazine also calls out FIFA for their denial. They're insisting that all of the construction sites do abide by strict safety measures. French magazine SoFoot, though, not buying this. For them, both of these responses, they say, are sort of a version of move along. There's nothing to see here. Meanwhile, the London-based Al Arab writes, when the games begin in Qatar in November 2022, some will celebrate the most popular event on the planet. Others, though, will feel grief for the workers who died, and others will feel anger and call for justice for the victims, most of whom came from poor South Asian countries, just hoping to make money so that their families could survive.
There won't be justice, I can tell you that much. Alison, next to a very bizarre story out of Qatar next, but this time we're talking about the TV channel Al Jazeera, which is launching a news platform to target American conservatives.
That's right. It doesn't seem like their usual demographic, right? This new platform is going to be called Rightly. In a statement to the Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera said that they aim to reach Republicans on the center-right who are currently underrepresented in today's media. The project is being run by a former Fox News journalist, and it will be launching its first interview show on Thursday. But many journalists at Al Jazeera are very critical of this new project, and they spoke anonymously to the Middle East Eye. One said they couldn't see how it fit in with Al Jazeera's other platforms, and they feel like it's less of a journalistic effort and more of a PR stunt. Another one said they worried it could really amplify racist views. So it's going to be interesting how this project is received in the United States.
Do we know which journalist is running it?
I don't remember his name.
I'll look it up later. And moving on here to France next, actor Gérard Depardieu has been charged with rape and for a sexual assault and rape for something that dates back to 2018.
That's right. This story, though, was these charges were filed against Gérard Depardieu. This investigation opened back in December, and it just came to light yesterday. French papers particularly interested in reactions from abroad because Gérard Depardieu is such an iconic French actor. French magazine The Courrier International is highlighting the reaction of German paper, the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. They see it as really just the latest in a series of revelations in France of rape, incest, and child sex abuse. You see pictured here both Gérard Depardieu and a famous TV presenter hunter who was accused of rape earlier this month, Patrick Poivre d'Arvour. The paper writes, not a day goes by without a new accusation, a new scandal, a new outrage here in France. They conclude something has changed in France since the time of Dominique Strauss-Kahn. This time, no one is jumping up to defend any of these men.
Interesting. Moving on next to Canada. Very, very important story out of Canada, Alison, which you found. A lot of people have noticed that their butter is no longer melting.
That's right. Crucial story, Delano. You can't survive
butter?
without soft butter.
Listen,
that would be a disaster
has been harsh.
in France.
It could be that. It could be the weather.
This story has been dubbed Buttergate. It is not the weather. I'm going to get to what they think it is in a moment. This began really when thousands of Canadians started sharing on social media the fact that they noticed that their butter had changed. It had gotten really hard. It was no longer melting, and making it impossible to spread even when it was at room temperature. Now, as Canadian network CTV explains, some agricultural scientists say it's caused by farmers giving palm oil supplements to their cows to boost their milk production. The palm oil then increases the amount of saturated fat, which ultimately raises the melting point of the butter. This is apparently perfectly legal for farmers to do, but the agricultural scientist who wrote this article is really concerned that it breaches the moral contract between Canadians and their dairy farmers.
So what do you do? Could you put the butter in the microwave?
I mean, I guess, yeah. I think, you just have to put it at a higher temperature. So, yeah, microwave it.
Okay. Alison, thank you very much for that. Alison Sargent there with the press review.